Hello, welcome to my minimalist house tour. I divided this small home into 4 intentional quadrants to make it feel bigger, calmer, and more functional. Minimalism is keeping only what supports the life I want to live. Let me show you how I designed this space to feel open, personal, and collected over time. If you've seen my other videos, this space may look familiar, but today I wanted to share with you my home in a more intentional way, not just what I own, but how I designed this layout to support a more minimalist lifestyle. This is the main living area of my home. It's a small space, so I divided this up into 4 functional quadrants. We have the entryway, the living room, the dining space, and the kitchen. Designing it this way helped me make the room feel more open and airy while still being practical for everyday life. Let's begin at this entryway. When I was creating this space, I really wanted it to feel welcoming, simple, and functional. I added wall hooks for guests so coats and bags have a designated place the moment that someone walks in. Even in a small home, I believe having a clear landing spot really reduces visual clutter instantly. Below the hooks, I added a small table that doubles as a stool. It can be used to sit on, to put shoes on, or hold a bag, or even offer additional seating when friends are over. I love furniture that serves more than one purpose, especially in a minimalist home. Instead of placing a traditional council table or single piece of art at my entry, I opted for a tall open shelf. For me, this is like an evolving art project that I can rearrange objects and completely transform the mood of the entryway without bringing anything new. I personally tend to gravitate towards handmade and vintage pieces that feel collected over time rather than purchased all at once. You'll see small heirloom touches here, porcelain owl bookends that belonged to my parents when they were first married. And another piece down here that came from my great-grandmother. These are the types of objects that I cherish. In a minimalist home, I don't keep many things, but the things that I do keep carry meaning. I also weave in nature whenever I can. Pine cones, collected on hikes, simple greenery, organic textures. Those natural elements ground the space and soften it. From there, we move on to the living room, the second quadrant. When designing this area, my goal was openness. I did not want the television to become that focal point of the room. Instead of placing the sofa directly in front of it, I positioned the couch alongside of the window. That small shift really changes the entire energy of the space. The focus becomes conversation, natural light, and connection, not a screen. I'm personally not someone who watches a lot of TV, but I do appreciate having it available on occasion, but it just doesn't dominate my room. One of the most impactful pieces in this space is the rug. It's a handmade Berber rug crafted by artisans in the mountains of Morocco. This texture is thick and cushiony, and you can feel the craftsmanship in it. Choosing fewer high-quality pieces is something that I value deeply. This kind of item I'll treasure and keep for many years to come. The softness of the Berber rug invites you to sit on the floor, not just on the furniture. Before I had a dining table, I ate most of my meals seated at my coffee table on the floor. And it became a grounding ritual for my meals, tea, conversations, or even entertaining. I love that this is a space that still allows for that flexibility. On the other side of the room, I have a lightweight rattan chair paired with a small drink table. Both are super easy to move, which is very important because this living room adapts throughout the week. I currently do Pilates at home with a reformer, and canceling my membership was both a financial decision and part of simplifying my life. I can easily move the chair aside, set up my foldable reformer, and transform this area into a workout space within minutes. When overnight guests visit, I do the same thing. The chair shifts, and there's room for air mattresses, and even in a small home, flexibility creates abundance. I don't need a large space, I just need space that works for me. You'll also notice some other collected pieces layered throughout the room. A thrifted Mexican pottery jug that's handmade, ceramics from New Mexico, a Polish ceramic piece, and terracotta vases. A macrame owl that I've had since childhood that's been following me from home to home. I also have dried palm leaves that I've clipped and flattened out myself. Small bits of nature woven into decor. These earthy elements keep the space feeling organic and grounded. When I decorate, I aim for the curated over time rather than styled all at once. I want my home to feel lived in, personal, and deeply reflective on who I am. Because at the end of the day, this is where I spend most all of my time. I work from home. I exercise here. I prepare my meals, and I host family and friends here. Home to me should be one of your favorite places to be. Minimalism isn't about emptiness, it's about intention, and it's about surrounding yourself with only things that feel meaningful, functional, and beautiful to you. And that's just how my philosophy begins to take shape in my space. Moving on to the third quadrant is my dining area. This space feels especially meaningful to me because for the last several years, I actually didn't have a designated dining table. In previous homes, I either ate at the coffee table or on the floor, so having a true dining space feels very intentional and almost ceremonial. I really try to romanticize the everyday life here. Even simple meals feel special when the table is set with linen napkins, placemats, candles. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just creates this small ritual, a pause in every day, whether I'm alone or sharing a meal with family and friends. This space invites presence. This centerpiece is one of my favorite pieces in the entire home. It's actually an ashtray that I found at an estate sale. It was made by a pottery artist who also happened to be a dentist. And the inside has this beautiful aurora borealis glaze, and the outside has this organic, almost shell-like texture. It was made in 1983, and it's engraved here on the bottom. I use it as a fruit bowl now, and that's just something that I just love about decorating intentionally, giving objects new life and a new purpose. It's functional, but it also tells a story. On the wall, you'll see a latch hook piece that I made. You can find these grids secondhand or online and choose your own yarn and create your own design. This one really was inspired by the desert landscape, which reflects the climate that I live in now. Handmade pieces like this do make a space feel more deeply rooted and individual. Above my buffet, I also created this subtle triangle border around this mirror. I wanted to create visual interest without overwhelming the room, so I kept it as a soft cream colored tone, and I find that it makes a bigger statement than access. The buffet itself is another evolving surface, similar to the way the entry shelf is. I rotate seasonal elements here: fruit, pine cones, acorns, dried palm leaves, flowers, and most of these items are either gathered from nature or already part of my everyday life. Very little here was purchased specifically for decor alone. The latch hook art took time, but the pine cones and the acorns were free. Fruit changes with the seasons. Even one of the vases was broken at one point, and I repaired it, sanded it all out, and repainted it, and gave it a second life. Minimalism for me isn't about constantly buying less. It's about learning to see the potential and what you may already have. So this last section is the kitchen, and it's actually the largest kitchen that I've had in quite some time. And because it's open to the rest of the living space, I really wanted this to feel cohesive rather than separate. Since there aren't walls dividing it, I had to be both functional and visually calm. I am very mindful of what lives on my countertops. Along the edge, I decided to add some trailing plants to soften the lines of the counter. There's also this seashell that I've had since my childhood. It used to sit under a fish tank in my family home. Small nostalgic objects like this make the kitchen feel warm rather than purely utilitarian. I keep a small pottery piece that I made about 25 years ago, and now it holds my sponge and scrubber. These little touches bring personality into everyday routines. We use our electric kettle daily, so that remains on the counter. I chose to elevate it on a small wooden platform. It was a bit of a splurge, but it hides the cords and creates a more cleaner visual line. Sometimes a small design choice can really make a big impact in a small kitchen. One change that I did make recently was removing my dish drying rack from the countertop. I didn't get rid of it completely, but just relocated it, and now I just dry my dishes on a simple towel and put everything away promptly. It keeps the counters clear and reinforces the habit of just staying on top of the clutter. If needed, I can always bring the rack back out, or I can always use the dishwasher. Again, it's about flexibility, not rigidity. So those are the 4 quadrants of my main living space. As we move down the hallway, I'll be keeping my daughter's bedroom area and bathroom private, but I did want to share this small little nook along the way. I love this simple oak platform. It's a versatile piece and something that could easily function somewhere else in the future. But for now, it serves as a little quiet moment in the hallway. On top, I keep a vase with a dried banksia flower, and it adds texture without overwhelming the space. At the opposite end of the other hallway, there is a full-length mirror, and I just love the way it reflects light visually and extends the space. In a narrow hallway, reflection makes everything feel more open. I've intentionally kept this area minimal, just a plant and 2 small art pieces. One is handmade ceramic sculpture, each with individual spikes formed by hand and attached to a piece of driftwood. It's organic and sculptural without feeling heavy. On the opposing wall, I have a ceramic horse taper candle holder. It's a piece from a small business based out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Instead of traditional candles, I use the battery-operated taper candle lights. It creates a soft glow in the evenings without the safety concerns of open flames. I love layering soft lighting throughout the home as I move from room to room. The gentle light makes everything just feel calm and intentional. And then we move into the last area of my home, which is my bedroom and bathroom. This room serves multiple purposes. It is both my bedroom and my home office. Because I work remotely, I do need that full workstation setup with multiple monitors. I've tried to keep this area streamlined while still functional. Above the desk, I've added a couple handmade latch hook pieces for texture and warmth. Even in a workspace, I try to incorporate personal touches like this paperweight that belonged to my parents when I was growing up. It used to sit on their desk and now it sits on mine. Those small heirloom pieces quietly anchor a room. You'll also notice this small rattan peacock style plant holder. When I was growing up, we had a larger version of this in my mother's sewing room. So having a piece like this just gives it a little bit of nostalgia in the best way. I'm drawn to these vintage hand-painted potteries for my plants. The intricate details and subtle pops of color bring life into the room without overpowering it. Since this is a small bedroom with larger furniture pieces, I really had to be thoughtful about the layout. Instead of traditional nightstands, which would have just crowded the space too much, I chose 2 tree stumps on either side of the bed. They're minimal, natural, and functional, just enough surface area for essentials, paired with a plant to keep the lines soft and organic. To the right side of the bed, I have a second desk. This area works as an additional workstation when needed, but it also doubles as a vanity space where I can either dry my hair or apply makeup, or just simply sit here in the mornings. The pottery displayed here is also from that same estate sale that I bought the centerpiece on my dining room table. I love the craftsmanship and the subtle color variations. In a neutral space, even a small pop of color really feels like just a breath of fresh air. On either side of my mirror, I have these battery-operated lights. They provide better lighting when I'm getting ready, but they also function as a soft reading light in the evening. I'm always looking for ways for one item to serve more than one purpose, especially in a small, multifunctional room. Overall, I've tried to make this bedroom feel calm and tranquil, because when your bedroom is also your office, it's especially important that it still feels like a place to rest, keeping what's meaningful, functional, and beautiful, and just letting go of what doesn't make sense. Finally, the last space in my home tour is my bathroom. There's not as much here to show, but I really did try to bring that same philosophy into the bathroom as I did with every other part of my home. Even the bathroom deserves intention, and I wanted it to feel cozy and restorative, almost like a small at-home spa. I wanted it to be a place where I can begin and end my day feeling grounded. On the countertop, I keep things streamlined, just a small handmade pottery, a candle, a piece of Palo Santo, and a plant. Just keeping my surfaces mostly clear helps the space feel calm rather than cluttered. In another corner here, I've layered some subtle natural elements: dried banksia flower, bunny tail grass, driftwood, and a seashell. I'm always drawn to these organic textures. They soften a room in a way that feels effortless. I've kept the color palette here pretty neutral and quiet, with only subtle pops of color here and there. Nothing overwhelming. Just enough warmth to keep it from feeling sterile. I chose a flat weave rug and a bamboo mat to keep things simple and functional. The linen shower curtain adds softness and texture without visual heaviness. I found that textiles really do make a significant difference in how a bathroom feels. I've also added a couple vintage pieces from the late 70s. I've got these two Virgil Thrasher style art boxes that add a little personality. I love incorporating these old pieces into modern spaces. It creates contrast and depth. And on top of the frame, I've placed these tiny little bud vases for a small touch of interest. It's subtle, but these details really make those everyday routines just feel a little bit more thoughtful. Because even in a space like a bathroom where you're simply brushing your teeth or washing your face, I believe that the environment still matters. When you're getting ready in the morning or winding down at night, your surroundings really shape how you feel. And for me, that feeling is calm. Every space in this home, from the entryway to the bathroom, has really been shaped with the same intention: to live with less, but with meaning. Minimalism for me isn't about having as little as possible. It's about choosing the items carefully and keeping the heirloom instead of the excess, handmade over mass-produced, natural elements over constant consumption, flexible spaces over rigid layouts. This home isn't perfect. It's evolving just like I am. Pieces move, shelves get rearranged, fruit changes with the seasons, plants grow, and priorities shift. A home should feel collected over time, personal, comfortable, and a place where you genuinely want to be, especially when you spend as much time here as I do. If this style of intention, cozy minimalism, resonates with you, I'd really love to know which space felt the most inspiring. And if you enjoy mindful living, low-waste swaps, raw inspired kitchen ideas, there's more to come. Thank you so much for spending time with me here today, and I will see you on my next one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.